What's up guys, it's the Devil's Talon here, and in today's video we have another installment of viewer VOD reviews. Today we're going to be taking a look at Zax and how he and his duo performed in NA West DreamHack on high ping. But before I get into this VOD review guys, if you do enjoy my content or find what I'm telling you helpful, please drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on post notifications. Also, if you want me to continue this series, I'm going to need VODs to review. If you want your gameplay reviewed, please send me a DM on either Instagram or Twitter. Those social links are down below in the description. But without further ado, let's just get right into it. Alright, as you can see on the screen, we have Zax POV. They are landing in their first game at Misty Meadows. I'm going to be talking about what I think their biggest flaw, and that is their over-aggression on high ping. I have recently VOD review these high ping pros Nanolite and Fernando on how they qualified for DreamHack on EU finals around the same amount of ping. They were really only aggressive in their first game, with the rest of their games playing for placement. However, this is going to be a specific example of over-aggression with limited resources. Now look, they have no utility 1. Zax is sitting at 130 builds, 37 and 76. And unfortunately, we don't get a super clean engagement here. We kind of solo a little bit, but now they're playing together, which is good. But you're going to see what ends up happening. We end up whiffing a bunch of shots, getting cracked for a lot of our HP. And we're still sitting now even significant amount of lengths, and we do get the maps, but now the mats and the kill, so a quick 5 points. But look, we're at 50, 37, and 76 materials, and we get pushed by a bunch of teams. Now, I understand it's first game, you want to key. However, you have to key efficiently and effectively, and it is almost impossible to key efficiently and effectively on this high ping. So in the future, this duo, when they decide to key, especially when they're on high ping, they need to make sure that they have the materials and the utility to do so. As you can see, this is definitely not going to be ideal, and Zax has to shock away. He ends up dying shortly after this. Now, let's just jump into the next engagement, which kind of shows this over-aggressive tendency that gets them into trouble a lot. Alright, this is going to be another example of unnecessary over-aggression. Look at their mats. They're a lot better than they were previously, but Sully dives into a basic box with 2 kids and comps one shot. Zax falls in and they get instantaneously wiped. Now, the reason for that doesn't make a ton of sense. Look how early they are in their tournament. They're on 100 plus ping, so box fighting situations are not the best. Zax only having 21 AR ammo, so has to be extremely accurate with his shotgun. And to be honest, it's really not worth it on these high pings, especially with that short of a rotate. They should have just gone to zone, played center, used their mats, and used their utility. They would have definitely netted more points that way. When you're playing on high ping, it's best to try and get your picks endgame after you get a nice first or second game where you get a decent amount of kills W keying. And if that means waiting 20 minutes to start the tournament, that's something that may be beneficial. That way your kills are a lot easier when you have more than likely higher skill than the kids that are just signing up to play for fun. We're now in their last game. They're going to eventually be taking a rift, and look at their utility of mats again, much better than what they were in that first engagement, but they end up taking this rift. 36 kids, so again, a lower level lobby, this being their last game. So maybe I understand the decision to key right here. However, again, being on 90 plus ping, you're going to be at a significant disadvantage, and you're taking the rift and not using it for rotation. He said Reed is our game. Reed isn't our game. Not actually true. That's Reed, not with a period. So instead of going to zone, what they end up doing is deciding to just dive on a team. And what ends up happening is just pretty much disaster. Just jumping in willy-nilly, basically not setting up any position with no information on the opponents. And it becomes a quick 1v2 situation with Zax getting 200 pump pretty much erased. Sully's extremely low as well. Instead of opting to use the chug splashes and get back to health, ends up just getting cracked, and their tournament is over just because of a unnecessary over-aggressive play. Like I said, high ping, you're going to be at significant disadvantage. You want to be playing placement almost 8 or 9 of your games, especially if you get a really solid 8 to 10 kill high placement game in your first one. And that may be you need to land Stark of your first couple of games, and that way you can really get some easy free kills. 5 points again being the kill format in DreamHack. So just over aggression there just kind of cost this duo throughout. That's what stuck out to me the most, and it's just something that can be easily corrected again with just a more calm and approach, especially when you're not on your own server. The next thing I'm going to talk about is lack of a established drop spot. In this VOD review, Zax and his duo land Retail, Holly, Steamy, Misty, and even an isolated spot over by Lighthouse. It doesn't seem that they have an exact game plan going into every land or drop spot. However, I do think it's great to have maybe 1 or 2 places at max. Jumping all over spots in the tournament is going to minimize your success. You really want to master landing at an area and how to fight at an area, and then maybe have a more isolated drop spot if you are in more stack lobbies and want to play placement. Again, something I would extremely recommend, again, being on high ping as they are, but switching drop spots significantly puts you at risk for not optimizing your fights if you can't garner enough practice at all of the drop spots. I would recommend maybe having up to 2 max drop spots that you land and really practice, and one maybe being a POI and the other being somewhere less contested, or a place that you feel like you can land, get loot, and play placement for the most part. But it doesn't seem the duo had a true game plan on what they were going to do, where they were going to land each individual tournament, or each individual game. So it's just something that they can maybe coordinate and practice on more together when they're playing. Maybe land at a specific spot at Steamy, which seemed to be their most prevalent drop spot, or maybe find another spot where they're more comfortable. Now, the last thing I'm going to mention was asked by the actual person who submitted this VOD review not to be discussed or shown, so I'm going to discuss it without showing the clip. There was a time where mentality was kind of an issue with one of the duo mates raging, which again can be very detrimental, not only for the vibes, but actually in-game, especially if a solo is trying to clutch up. I know that Zax personally struggles with mentality. I personally struggle with mentality. And again, I have recommended and made a video on this. Again, I would recommend highly that everyone take a look at this book. It's called The Invisible Game, which talks about the mindset required to succeed as a team in esports. It's esports specific, has a lot of great stuff on there. But just from a common sense standpoint, if you're playing as a solo and you need to clutch up and your opponent's raging, it's 1, very distracting. 2, it's just physically hard to hear what you need to hear, with Fortnite being such an audio-based game. So in the future, if you cannot contain your rage as a solo, just make sure that you are muting your mic and be understanding that your teammate needs to have great clearance or great comms to be able to maybe succeed, clutch up, and get you back in the game from a reboot ban perspective. But it's also great for mentality to make sure that your vibes don't get destroyed, that you don't end up just throwing your tournament based on attitude or how one particular moment or in-game moment went. And like I said, that book that I showed is a great way to kind of just get some tips, techniques, tricks from an esports owner who wrote this book. It's really a good, interesting read and very specific for stuff like this, and great for team mode. So that's what I would definitely recommend. Just make sure in the future, just try to keep a better mentality. Well, guys, that is going to do it for today's VOD review. I hope that you did enjoy. If you did, please drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on post notifications. And I hope I'll be seeing the next one. Peace.